In his 40s, money feels controlled and quiet. In his 20s, it started with one simple budget. In his 40s, big purchases don't create stress. In his 20s, he learned to stop buying for attention. In his 40s, income comes from more than one place. In his 20s, nights were spent building extra skills. In his 40s, growth feels steady and earned. In his 20s, he opened the first account and started small. In his 40s, discipline matters more than luxury. In his 20s, he learned to put things back. In his 40s, money works even when he doesn't. In his 20s, he stayed up learning how money works. In his 40s, peace comes from owning less stress. In his 20s, he chose smaller costs and less noise. In his 40s, savings create confidence. In his 20s, he automated it before it felt important. In his 40s, planning feels normal. In his 20s, he learned before he earned more. In his 40s, weekends feel free. In his 20s, weekends were used differently. In his 40s, assets pay him back. In his 20s, he saved before he spent. In his 40s, emergencies feel manageable. In his 20s, he built the first safety net. In his 40s, debt has less control. In his 20s, he stopped feeding it early. In his 40s, money no longer creates anxiety. In his 20s, every dollar had a job. In his 40s, small investments became meaningful. In his 20s, he started before it looked impressive. In his 40s, his decisions looked calm. In his 20s, he learned control before comfort. In his 40s, growth looks obvious. In his 20s, consistency looked boring. In his 40s, freedom looks simple. In his 20s, temptation was ignored often. In his 40s, stress stays low because spending stayed lower. In his 20s, he learned to live under his means. In his 40s, money decisions feel easy. In his 20s, habits mattered more than image. In his 40s, options exist because discipline stayed. In his 20s, distractions were denied early. In his 40s, progress feels earned. In his 20s, it was built through small, quiet choices. In his 40s, wealth looks simple from the outside. In his 20s, he refused to look rich too early. In his 40s, the peace is visible. In his 20s, wealth began with habits no one noticed.
If this video opened your eyes, make sure you subscribe, because what you learn today can save your future tomorrow.